Alright guys, let's end this Game Gear-a-thon off strong. Hello everyone, and welcome to Let's Play Sylvan Tale. Some of you have probably heard of this game, but a good amount of you probably also haven't because this is actually a Japan exclusive title. I am playing the fan translation you can find fairly easily on like romhacking.net and all that kind of jazz.
High on a hill, in the outskirts of town, there stood a remarkably large tree. For countless centuries, it had kept watch over our town. One day, at the top of this giant tree, I noticed a mysterious light. As the light flickered and danced, I was filled with a strange sense of foreboding. And with it, an uncontrollable urge to climb the tree. It almost seemed as if the light were trying to speak to me. Please come here. Hurry, to me!
Please, save them. The children of Sylvan. Only you can wield the legacy of our lands, the seed. Here, quickly, take it. The 6 droplets. You must collect the 6 droplets, or Sylvan will surely be lost. They lie hidden in the 6 fortresses, scattered about the world. The entrance to the first fortress is marked by a rock shaped like a face. Please, I beg of you, gather the droplets. And that's probably the quickest we've been thrust into our adventure since probably Link's Awakening. Anyway, the game starts off, and you can do some things. First off, the 2 button is how you use your sword, which is actually the seed. Start is how you get to your menu. We actually have a few different menus. That one's our face, our inventory, which is pretty empty at the moment. A map down at the bottom, which if you actually check, as I'm about to do right now, you can see where all the droplets are. There's only 1 for us right now, but we can get that pretty quickly. And the left is the save feature. You can hold the 1 button to either push or pull items, and we'll see our use of that later. And then you can double tap any direction on the D-pad in order to dash. Enemies can also drop items, but it's also very selective what they can drop. Like, there's usually cherry, a double cherry, and an apple, and a pineapple, actually. Fruits in general, really like that. That restore various amounts of HP. And that's a random dead tree. Keep that in mind for later. There's like a hidden door over there. Weird. Anyway, this town seems pretty barren for the most part, aside from these, like, 3 or 4 kids. I wouldn't go near that face-like rock to the west. It's dangerous. Okay. I found this old book, but it's all bug-eaten. I can't make much of it out at all. I'll keep at it. The dialogue for the NPCs actually tends to change almost after every single major plot point, but eh. The monsters don't attack kids, they wait till you're older. All my friends grew up and got dragged off. Now that's all kinds of screwed up. And here's a tutorial place. You can read these 3 books to get more info on what you're trying to do, but I already know. I do try to talk to NPCs as often as I can, but past a certain point I just kind of stop caring. Why should I care about the sunlight? We're all gonna die anyway. Just like my older brother. Well, jeez, that's depressing! Thanks a lot, girl! Either way, the town itself, this is Verda, by the way. That's the name of basically this entire level we're on and the town itself. We'll keep this place in mind for later, but we do want to head towards the west so we can actually try and find that face-shaped rock. A lot of the early game enemies are pretty easy. A lot of them are either very immobile or barely move at all. Like those little plant things I just killed don't move at all, yet they still take 2 slices to take out. The gels are pretty much what you would expect. They bounce all over the place and don't take much damage to kill. However, you do want to keep your eyes out outside of the main labyrinths that this game has, because if you jump down here on the left, we find a chest containing an orange. Oranges are basically this game's heart containers. You get it, your health extends. And there are a lot of oranges to get in the game. It basically extends all the way on the bottom screen to where that box is. And these are switches. We can hit them with our sword. to open up the face-shaped rock and enter our first dungeon. Welcome to the Flame Labyrinth. The dungeons in this game I actually really like, because they're very well thought out, but they're also very short.
Words have been scratched into the dirt.
The heat of the passage, could it be related to the flame below? If we head south, there's a thing we can't really go past either, I think, in general, or without taking some massive damage, so we want to head west first, and explore the path over there. Admittedly, one thing I have to give about, well, first off, here's an apple. Out of all the things that enemies can mainly drop, this is the only one you can hold in your inventory. Apples, when used as an item, heal not all of your HP, but a significant amount of it. It's all over HP right now, but towards the end game, it's gonna just start being significant.
Words have been scratched in the dirt.
That crest, it's my only hope of advancing. What crest? Well, if we head north, we can see that there's something on top of that lava plume. That's the crest. We need to figure out how to get that, so let's keep that in mind for later. Oh, and hey, one of those little dart patches is actually held in. We should keep that in mind for later. Either way, here's the lava below that skeleton was talking about, so if we push this block onto it, if we go up there now, that flame actually took out the heated passageway. If there's anything I could say about this game in general that you're going to be seeing a lot, is that the labyrinths never get too complicated. I'm guessing this game was marketed towards a younger audience, like, well, for RPGs at least. So they probably decided to keep it a bit on the easier side. Jump down the right pit, and we land on that switch that we saw earlier, so now if we head back over to where the crest was, we'll find something waiting for us. And there it is. Now, I actually tend to call all the crests their own thing, but they're all just called the crests. I just tend to call this one the fire crest, because, you know, fire area. One thing I have to give this game some immense credit for is actually its control, because this game is actually very responsive for a Game Gear game. Even like some of the Sonic games I played earlier in this Game Gear-a-thon didn't have the best control, but this just does, and I feel like I make every move, and it's great. Zetts plays well. Oh yeah, that's our character's name, by the way. Zetts. Z-E-T-T-S. We don't find that out until towards the end of the game, but if I recall, it was in the manual anyway, so yeah. Mind you, I say manual, but we didn't get the manual because Japan exclusive. Either way, that's a hole that's shaped remarkably like the crest, so let's equip it, and then walk right on into it. And with that, we now have access to the boss. However, before any given boss fight in the game, I do recommend you save, because this game works very similarly to some older games, where wherever you save, you'll load in there. And it's time for the boss fight, which is something. I've always just called this thing Ifrit for some reason, but it's pretty simple. Way he works is that he'll create a fire tornado around him, which moves faster and faster the more damage you put on him. And after a while, he'll split the fire tornado off of him, going in 4 directions. I think it alternates between north, south, east, west, and northeast, southeast, southwest, northeast. I tried to get only 2 hits in between every single one, but if I recall, you can actually get upwards of 3 or 4 if you're being a lot more reckless. I just like to be a bit safe about this boss fight. But really, this first boss, nothing too hard. In fact, I think it's honestly pretty boring, all things considered. It should take you about 3, 4, maybe 5 cycles to take him out. If you're taking like a quick kill speedrun strategy, it should take like 2 or 3. But overall, not a very hard boss. And for beating him, we get our first droplet, the red droplet. Now we can use the 100 slices technique. That's right, instead of getting a health up, although your health does get restored upon beating a boss, you don't get your HP increased upon beating a boss, you get a new technique. Whereas in this case, if we mash the button after our first slash, we do basically a sword version of the Hyaku Retsu Kyaku, Chun-Li's lightning kick. And it's actually pretty good for taking out enemies, especially ones that stand still, because you basically can just stand there and have them take all the hits you need. And it's not just a new attack, it also allows us to clear out something that's been in our way for a bit now. You may have noticed this ivy all over the place. We can now get rid of it. And enter this house to find our first part of the inventory, the lamp. The lamp is basically how the one in A Link to the Past worked. By having it equipped, you now have a circle of light around you in dark areas. Hey, I finally got this page. Listen to this. The seed is Sylvan's legacy. A weapon that grows. It has no definite form. Obtain the slabs inscribed with the way of transformation to reveal new powers of the seed. What's all the seed stuff mean? I don't get it. The ivy on that door grows really fast. Think you could clear it away if you swung your sword fast enough? Well, I clearly just demonstrated such, so I think so. They say that long ago the big trees could take you all kinds of places. Wonder if it's true. If it is, I'd say goodbye to this place in a flash. Well, maybe it is, random kid. Maybe it is. Either way, there are 2 ivies I could enter right now in the village and back in the starting screen, but we can't do anything in those areas yet because we don't have the proper equipment. So we want to actually head back here to the screen where the dungeon was at because there's an ivy on the northeastern part of this screen that we can also enter. So let's check that out. One thing I actually really like about this game in comparison to some older Zelda games until like maybe A Link to the Past is that if you ever get lost, if you take a look at your map, you'll more than often get a good idea of where to go next in terms of direction at least. It's very similar to probably actually Link's Awakening and the Oracle games in that it just gives you an overall look at the map without getting really in detail with each screen. But that's more than enough to give you at least a direction of where to go. Better than Zelda 1 and Zelda 2. Also, you can jump down ledges like that if it's not obvious enough, but there's very few of them in the game, actually. Well, that you have to use, at least. And if we go in here, we find ourselves in the Turtle Altar, our next little dungeon. And as you can see, it's dark in here, which is why I grabbed the lamp. Also, I hate the inventory screen theme. So yeah, as you can see, it's a very small little light, but it's enough to get us around. The spikes in here aren't instant kill, they actually just do progressive damage. The longer you're on them, the more damage you just have taken. But we need the lamp in here so we can find our way around and hit 3 switches because the door is locked otherwise. They are in the southeast, the northeast, and the technically, I guess, the just solid west. And then the door is at the very northern wall. Admittedly, one thing that is kind of meh about the game in my eyes is that there's a lot of enemies you just cannot do any damage to at all. Especially in some of the earlier dungeons, so you really just want to run away from a lot of them. And here's an orange. Well, let me remedy that statement. There's a lot of enemies you can kill. Those statues, I think I just passed one of the few enemies I don't think you can. It's just the fact that a lot of the time it's not worth doing, because, well, our sword does decent damage. A lot of enemies, especially towards the middle of the game, just have a lot of health. And this is a thing. I don't know what this thing is, but our goal is to kill as many as we can. After, like, I want to say 5 or 6 of them, a door will open up. This can actually be surprisingly annoying, because you have to dash over to them in time for some of the later ones because they stay up for such a short period of time. I could be dashing, yeah, but if I'm trying to be precise like this, I don't want to double tap the button. It makes me feel like I'm gonna overshoot a lot. Or undershoot, should the case be. In terms of my experience in this game, though, I actually remember getting introduced to it about 2010, roughly? Through this one LP of it I found on YouTube. I didn't watch it all the way through, but I remember seeing enough of it where I was like, you know, this game looks interesting. So I found the fan translation and had some real fun with it, actually. I think I only watched that LP through the end of the next dungeon. But that was more than enough, and I found my way around pretty easily. Thankfully, this game's also not too terribly long at that. Though it's longer than most of the other Game Gear games in this Game Gear-a-thon, which is actually why I'm ending it off with it, because I may have mentioned at the end of the Sonic Blast thing that I was going to do 1 or 2 more games. What I meant by that is I was going to do either 2 shorter games or 1 longer game, and I decided on the 1 longer being this. Now, don't get me wrong, this is not going to be the last game we see on the Game Gear ever. No, I still have a good few I want to show off at some point, including one particular best of compilation I absolutely despise. I thought by heading up in here, we find our main goal in here, this slab.
The art of the turtle. Now the seed may be as a shell to protect your body.
We got the turtle slab. The slabs allow you to take new forms. If we look in that little face menu, we now have a new form of Zetts access that we can access the turtle, which is horribly slow, but if you press the 1 button, you enter your shell in which you are entirely invincible. It doesn't have its own attack yet though, and it's also incredibly slow. For now, it's basically just a defensive form. And honestly, there's only 6 forms in the game, 5 of which are required, but they actually do vary up the gameplay enough to the point where it's actually interesting and useful. And I actually could have sworn I cut this backtracking out. Maybe I just wanted to end off on La Pointe or something. I will admit it has been a while since I actually recorded this footage because I went to my grandmother's for about a week or 2 down in Pennsylvania. and I didn't have my mic, so I wasn't able to commentate it as soon as I recorded it, so I might seem a bit forgetful about what I might be doing, so I'm going to apologize about that ahead of time. So I'm going to try and at least get all this commentary done within the next day, because I don't want to have this happening with school at the same time, because I'm going back to school, actually, in 2 days, which, mind you, I'm almost done with the first semester of sophomore year by the time this is getting uploaded, but yeah. With that, I'm going to need to end this off here. Thank you guys for watching, and in part 2, now that we have the turtle form, we're going to investigate some of the other Ivies we've seen throughout the game to see what's beyond them. See you guys then!